So I'm making this video to address the question, on an end-fed half wave, do you need a counterpoise? That's a good question. A highly, hotly debated one. My answer is, my answer is, I don't know. Let's find out. My installation's different than everyone else's, so draw your own conclusions. What I've done, I have removed all grounding to the rig. I'm going to try to show you the antenna ports on the back. The one on the far right over there is the only one connected. Let's walk the wire. He's connected to the UNUN, to my multi-tap UNUN. Okay, that green wire on top of the rig is my DC ground, if you will. It is connected to the grounding lug on the rear apron of the rig, and normally it's wired, nutted to this bundle. Those are the white wires are my counterpoise wires laying around the yard, and the coax shields are of course acting as counterpoise wires too when connected to the rig. So all of that's disconnected. Let's look at the power supply. These three modules, these are 40 amp 5 volt power supply modules that I've turned down to 4.6 volts each using the adjustment pot. The spec sheet calls out this application, placing multiple supplies in series, and only requires a reverse bias diode on the output of each supply. Okay, so that's my 40 amp station supply that I built. Notably, the supply rails, the negative supply rail is isolated from ground chassis, as is the positive supply rail. So, this power supply being grounded has no effect on the grounding of the rig. The output is isolated from ground. So therefore I've removed all grounding possible from the, well, I have removed all grounding from the rig. I'm connected to my 80 meter end-fed half wave that I've thrown over the tree branch. And let's take a look at some SWR comparisons. Hang on. And a side note, you notice I've got this white clip lead added to that 80 meter end-fed. That's because when I set up my end-fed, if it's going to include 80 meters, I set it up for the phone portion of the band, because I can always add a couple feet to bring the resonant frequency down to the bottom of the band. So that's why that clip lead extension is there, and I'll be leaving it on for these three comparisons, and I'll just move about in the band to a point where I have a good match, rather than screwing around with my clip lead and such. Hang on. Okay, this first test transmission will be with the ungrounded. I was going to use my little goofy tripod, but I think not. Hang on, bear with me. I'm going to reach over. Let's see what kind of SWR we have. 1.1 to 1. Okay, I'm going to unclip that. One moment. Okay, counterpoise disconnected. SWR has not changed. I'm going to set it up for the 40 meter band. One moment. Okay, I reconnected the counterpoise wire. I changed the antenna to the 64 to 1 tap. And let's see what kind of match we have here on 40 meters. And I slid up to the top of the band where the match should be reasonable. SWR, non-existent. Hang on, I'm going to unground it. Okay, ungrounded. SWR 1.35 to 1. So did that make a difference? It did. Unclipping the ground lead changed the SWR from a perfect match to 1.35 to 1, I think it was. Yeah. Okay, let's check 20 meters where the match isn't so good. And I forgot where I was at. I think I showed you the standing wave ratio on 20 meters with it grounded. Now this is non-grounded. What do we got? It's flirting with 1.5 to 1. Yeah, let me ground it again. I'm going to reach over here around you. Okay, it's clipped to the ground again. And yeah, it's flirting with 1.5 to 1. So on 20 meters, that counterpoise wire had very little or no effect. On 40 meters, it did have an effect. The SWR changed a little bit, but it was still perfectly usable. On 80 meters, I saw no SWR change at all. Having said that, what really are my counterpoise wires? I'm going to take you off the tripod. Hang on. Well, I can do this and disconnect the grounding bundle, the counterpoise bundle here. But have I eliminated all counterpoise wires? No, I have not. This feed line runs directly over to port number 1 on the radio. But that feed line is probably 2 feet long? I bet it is 2 feet long. So do I have a counterpoise connected? Oh, I certainly do. A 2-foot long one at all times. Also, worth noting, my keyer is connected to the transceiver still. Those wires behind the radio, everything, anything connected to the chassis of that radio must be considered my counterpoise wires. So I have a couple. I have a J38 key and a crap MFJ clone of a Venture key, which I don't recommend anyone buying. I have my 2 keyers and my rig. I have this green wire laying on top, well it was, and that coax. Those are my counterpoise wires at all times. Hopefully hopefully nobody got seasick from this handheld freaking ham radio video from the streets 20 minutes north of the war zone called Flint, Michigan. Oh my. Thank you for watching, and I do hope you're well and have a wonderful day. 73.